Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for latest updates.
I need to tell you something first. None of this information is meant to help anyone. It's just my take on what happened. The world knew them as the Diesel Brothers, a group of best friends who turned a small garage in Utah into a huge business built on dough, hard work, and steel. They were more than just a team. They were like family. But that friendship was fake. When the TV cameras stopped rolling and huge government lawsuits came down hard, the family broke apart. And now the truth is coming out about the men who left Heavy D to deal with the mess all by himself. The first betrayal happened when the money guy ran away, when the government came knocking. Every big business needs a smart person behind the scenes. Someone who works quietly to make things happen. For the Diesel Brothers, that person was Josh Stewart, known to everyone as Redbeard. He wasn't just some background guy. He was a business partner, the money expert they called the money man. While Heavy D, whose real name is Dave Sparks, came up with crazy truck ideas, and Diesel Dave, whose real name is Dave Kiley, got fans excited, it was Redbeard who took care of the numbers. He made sure their wild ideas could actually happen. Their business, Diesel Sellers, was way more than just a repair shop. It was a huge operation that gave away custom trucks worth six figures to fans all across the country. This way of doing business made them rich and famous. They got their own hit TV show on the Discovery Channel. They were living the dream. But their success was built on something dangerous. They became famous for building trucks that rolled coal, which means blowing huge clouds of black smoke into the air. This practice means illegally changing a truck's pollution system, and it was a big part of what they were known for. They even made videos making fun of Prius drivers, covering them with smoke from their modified trucks. This loud and proud attitude eventually got the attention of the wrong people. In 2016, a group called Utah Doctors for a Healthy Environment, or UPHE, filed a lawsuit against them. The doctors said the Diesel Brothers broke the Federal Clean Air Act hundreds of times. They said the crew was purposely destroying pollution control parts on their trucks, turning them into what they called disease-making machines. To prove their point, the doctors bought a truck directly from the Diesel Brothers and had it tested. The results were shocking. The truck made 36 times more pollution and 21 times more dirty particles than a normal truck. This lawsuit wasn't just against their company. It named the main people personally. The court papers listed David Sparks, Caton Hoskins, and Joshua Stewart as defendants. This meant Redbeard, the man in charge of money, was now facing a legal and money storm that could take away everything they had built. The government was coming for their personal stuff. The pressure was huge. Right when his brothers needed him most, Redbeard disappeared. After season 5 of the show, he was gone. There was no big announcement, no goodbye episode. One day he was a main part of the crew, and the next he had vanished from public view completely. His timing was no accident. He left just as the legal battle was getting to its worst point before the final judgment came down. He walked away from the empire he helped build, leaving Heavy D and the others to face the results alone. For Heavy D, this was the first big betrayal. The man who was supposed to be his money rock fell apart under pressure and ran for safety. So where did the money man go? Did he start another truck company? Did he use his business skills to build a new empire? The truth is stranger than anyone could have imagined. Josh Stewart didn't just leave the Diesel Brothers. He rejected their entire world. He turned his back on the loud engines, the black smoke, and the controversy. Instead, he found a new life in wellness and spirituality. Josh, who grew up on a Native American reservation in Utah, reconnected with his roots. He began talking about living in harmony with nature and listening to messages from the universe. He started a new business focused on cold plunge tubs, a popular wellness trend. He now spends his days meditating and practicing martial arts, seeking a quiet and peaceful life. It was a complete 180-degree turn from the rebellious anti-government culture of the Diesel Brothers. He traded the roar of a modified diesel engine for the sound of quiet thinking. This dramatic change shows everything. His leaving wasn't just about escaping a lawsuit. It was a complete rejection of the lifestyle that made him famous. By choosing a path of wellness and nature, he was silently telling the world and Heavy D that the Diesel Brothers' way of life was toxic. He didn't just leave the business, he left the whole philosophy behind. For Heavy D, who had to stay and fight for the brand they all created, this was a deep and personal insult. The money man had cashed out, leaving him to pay the price. But if Heavy D thought that was the deepest cut, he was wrong. The next betrayal would come not from someone running away, but from someone standing right beside him making a deal in secret. The second betrayal happened when the muscle guy broke ranks to save himself. While Redbeard was finding his inner peace, the legal war against the Diesel brothers kept going. The remaining members, Heavy D and Caton the Muscle Hoskins, were still in trouble, facing a huge penalty for their violations of the Clean Air Act. Caton Hoskins was not a background player. He was a main figure in the crew, known for his ability to find rare parts and for his muscular body, which earned him his nickname. He had been friends with Diesel Dave since they were in 8th grade and had met Heavy D through friends a few years before the show began. He was part of the inner circle, a brother who had been there for the crazy journey into the Diesel world. When the lawsuit hit, everyone expected they would stand together. They were a team, a brotherhood, and they would face this enemy as one group. They hired the same lawyers and planned a shared defense. They were all in the same boat, and they were supposed to sink or swim together. But Caton Hoskins had other plans. Behind the scenes, as the legal fees piled up and the threat of money ruin grew bigger, the muscle made a move to save himself. In a shocking act of betrayal, Caton broke ranks with his partners and secretly made his own deal. Court documents and news reports confirmed that Caton Hoskins settled the lawsuit separately with the Utah doctors for a healthy environment and the United States government. He cut a private deal to get himself out of the legal mess, limiting his own money damage and freeing himself from the ongoing court battle. This move left Heavy D completely exposed. While Caton was quietly making his exit, Heavy D was still fighting, still appealing the court's decision, and still trying to save the company they had all built together. Caton's separate settlement was a devastating blow. It shattered the illusion of unity, and showed that when things got truly serious, it was every man for himself. The brotherhood was officially dead. The muscle had chosen to protect his own future, even if it meant leaving his supposed brother to face the storm alone. What did Caton do with his newfound freedom? He didn't waste a second. With the lawsuit behind him, he immediately began building his own personal empire, completely separate from the Diesel Brothers brand. He launched a mentorship program called Limitless Society, positioning himself as a guru for aspiring entrepreneurs. His new brand was all about individual success, teaching people how to build their own businesses and create a life with no limits. He started speaking publicly about his life story, including his troubled youth and even time spent in jail, framing himself as a self-made millionaire who had overcome incredible odds. He revealed that he had started and operated over 35 companies by the age of 35 in industries ranging from fitness and supplements to dental offices and even a plastic surgery clinic. His focus shifted entirely from being part of a team to being the face of his own brand. The message was clear. Caton's legal move was the first step in a bigger plan to distance himself from the toxic Diesel Brothers name. By settling the lawsuit, he cleared the way for his solo career. He could now promote himself as a successful entrepreneur without being dragged down by the ongoing legal problems and negative press surrounding the company he had just abandoned. For Heavy D, this was a betrayal on two levels. First, Caton had abandoned him in the middle of their biggest fight. Second, he was now using his fame from the Diesel Brothers, fame they had all built together to launch a solo career that had nothing to do with the team. The muscle had flexed his way out of trouble, leaving Heavy D to carry the weight of their crumbling empire all by himself. Drowning in debt, the final collapse of the empire. With Redbeard gone and the muscle building his own kingdom, Heavy D was left to face the fallout. But the legal nightmare was far from over. Just as the dust was settling from the EPA lawsuit, a new, even more powerful enemy emerged. And this time, they were aiming for the heart of the Diesel Brothers business. The Italian fashion giant Diesel SPA filed a massive trademark lawsuit against them. The fashion brand, renowned for its high-end jeans and clothing, claimed that Diesel Power Gear, the merchandise company of the Diesel Brothers, was infringing on its world-famous trademark. The names were too similar, they claimed, and it was confusing the marketplace. For years, the Diesel Brothers business model had relied on Diesel Power Gear. They sold t-shirts, hats, and other gear. And every dollar spent on the site gave fans a chance to win one of their insane custom trucks. This was how they funded their million-dollar builds and grew their massive online following. Diesel Power Gear wasn't just a side project. It was the engine that powered their entire empire. The court battle was brutal. The judge found that the Diesel brothers, specifically Dave Sparks and Dave Kiley, were aware of the fashion brand's trademark, but continued to use the name despite receiving a cease and desist letter. The court called their actions willful infringement. In September 2023, the final judgment came down and it was a death blow. A federal judge ordered them to pay an unbelievable $11.8 million in damages to the fashion company. This was the moment the empire truly collapsed. The EPA fine of $850,000 was painful, but the $11.8 million trademark judgment was a catastrophe. There was no way to recover. The Diesel Power Gear business model was finished. Heavy D and Diesel Dave announced that they were ending the truck giveaways that had made them famous. The engine of their company had been ripped out. What followed was a desperate attempt to stay afloat. In the summer of 2024, Heavy D announced a massive garage sale on his YouTube channel. He was selling everything. Trucks, tools, equipment, and personal projects were all put up for sale. In his video, he said he was clearing out the shop to make room for a big change. But the truth was clear. He was trying to raise cash to pay off the mountain of debt that was crushing him. But even this last-ditch effort ended in humiliation. Just days into the sale, it was abruptly shut down. The reason was shocking. A federal judge issued a court order stopping the sale. The order stated that because Heavy D still owed millions in unpaid penalties from the lawsuits, he was prohibited from selling or transferring any of his property without the court's permission. He was trapped. He couldn't even sell his own things to pay off the debts that his former brothers had helped create. This was the final nail in the coffin. The Diesel Brothers brand was broken. The business model was destroyed. And Heavy D was left alone, legally blocked from even trying to clean up the mess. The men who had stood beside him at the top were nowhere to be seen now that he was at the bottom. The money man was meditating and the muscle was mentoring. Heavy D was left with nothing but the wreckage of their shared dreams. The man at the center of the storm. To understand how devastating this collapse was, you have to understand the man who built it all from nothing. Dave Sparks wasn't born into wealth or fame. He was born in Salt Lake City, Utah, the fourth child in a military family. His life was shaped early on by hardship. His father suffered from a brain tumor, and though doctors gave him only weeks to live, he fought on for 20 years. Dave watched his dad get knocked down by health issues again and again only to get right back up every time. That resilience became a core part of who he was. The family's struggles were real. At one point they were homeless, living in a van for 6 weeks after his father was medically discharged from the military. His parents took any job they could, from installing car stereos to delivering pizzas just to make ends meet. This experience lit a fire in young Dave. He tells a story about how he and his siblings saved up money to buy a trampoline only for his mom to use the cash for groceries. At just 7 years old, he decided he would never let his own family feel that kind of pain. That moment defined his future. His escape was anything with an engine. From his very first motorcycle, a 1976 Yamaha YZ80, he was obsessed with pushing machines to their limits. He spent his high school years learning auto mechanics, welding, and fabrication. He even enrolled in college, but dropped out after one semester, convinced he could learn more from real-world experience. He started his own small excavation business, and in 2008 hired his best friend Diesel Dave Kiley. A year later he met his wife Ashley at church and they started a family that would grow to include 3 children, a daughter named Charlie and 2 sons, Bo and Mac. With a family to support, he got his dealer's license and opened a small used car lot, the first step toward his dream company, Diesel Sellers. The business exploded thanks to their genius use of social media. They weren't just selling trucks. They were creating a spectacle. Their videos of insane stunts and hilarious pranks went viral and soon Hollywood noticed. An appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno led to a contract with the Discovery Channel and Diesel Brothers was born. The show was a massive hit, turning the crew into celebrities. They built trucks for legends like Chuck Norris and baseball stars like Jacob deGrom. They created some of the most iconic trucks ever seen, like the monstrous Hercules, which stood 11 feet tall, and the mind-bending somersault truck, an egg-shaped vehicle designed to do a full forward flip. The peak of their fame came on Memorial Day 2019 with a live 2-hour TV special. In front of an audience of military members, Heavy D did the unthinkable. He jumped the Brodozer, his signature monster truck, over a flying airplane. It was a death-defying stunt that cemented his legacy as a fearless innovator. At the height of his success, his net worth was estimated to be as high as $20 million. He had gone from living in a van to owning a business empire, a beautiful family, and even his own helicopter. He had achieved the American dream he had fought for since he was a little boy. And that is what made the betrayals and the collapse so brutal. It wasn't just about losing a business. It was about watching the life he had built from scratch, the legacy he had promised himself he would create, get torn apart by the very people he called his brothers. The king of a broken kingdom. In the end, the pressure of federal lawsuits and millions of dollars in fines did not break the Diesel brothers. It simply revealed that the brotherhood was nothing more than a brand, a story told for the cameras. When the risk became greater than the reward, the family fell apart. Josh Stewart walked away to find peace and Caton Hoskins cut a deal to find his own success. Heavy D, the man who started it all, was left to carry the weight of their shared past. The silence is now broken, not by an angry interview, but by the clear actions of the men who chose to save themselves, leaving Heavy D as the king of a broken kingdom.